All right, so then I go, hey Dave, I think it should be socially acceptable just to fly the bird as a nonverbal communication of being upset with someone's actions.
I think it is acceptable.
I think people get offended by it.
Well, they get offended because they're being called out on their bullshit.
So I've had a few on driving to work when it becomes like tourist season up around Patoka Lake in the area. One of the common things is people that don't know where they're going, they just basically stop right in the middle of a 55 mile an hour zone where it's like, what are you doing? Because they've missed their turn or they're looking for where they're going. Or they have this like, I'm going to do this slow, easy pull out in front of you, and there's nobody behind you.
Yeah, and just wait 3 seconds.
Yeah, all they got to do is wait. I'll be right past you, and you can pull right out. And I had it the other day. I was coming up 145, and there at the intersection on that southeast part of the lake where it's 164 that comes from Wycliffe and all that, I had one just slow roll, like right out in front of me, where I could have put my hood of the polar bear in their passenger door if I wouldn't have jumped on my brakes. And there was no like, I guess what pissed me off is like they either do it to everybody or they were so dense and dumb about what was going on that they just, well, I guess 3 things. They do it to everybody, so they don't care. They legitimately didn't see a white truck coming through at, 8:45 or 8:30 in the morning. Or they literally just don't care about their fellow human about it. And then they don't do the speed limit. And I'd love to just be able to pass them at that next opportunity because that's what happens. And I'd love to just be able to fly the bird and they just stop and realize like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Instead, they would get mad at me for flying the bird or riding their ass when they're the ones that caused the problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been bothering me.
So I had a real good
Is this podcast?
prim and proper
Oh, yeah.
middle finger. Literally, this is
Were
crazy.
you the giver or the recipient?
Recipient.
Oh.
We're never the giver.
Oh, you were working.
Yeah.
Oh.
We can't be the giver.
No, you can't.
No, absolutely not. Never have I ever been the giver. That's a lie. But we were sitting at a stoplight. Let's just go for conversation's sake at the intersection of Highway 64
Okay.
and US 231.
Busy intersection.
McDonald's.
Huck's Memorial Gym, CVS, downtown Huntingburg, Indiana.
Well, I think they would say downtown's 4th Street, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
A little north of downtown.
Was sitting at the stoplight facing west on Highway 64.
Okay.
As traffic would appear, I was the second or third vehicle in line facing west. The individual that was first in line was going to travel west on 64, so he was not able to turn right on red.
Okay.
The light turned green.
Okay.
The first 2 cars advanced to the west. I was driving with 3 of my colleagues, rather, in a vehicle, and I had made a right-hand turn on a green light to then travel north on US 231.
Okay.
As I had made my turn onto the northbound lane of US 231, an individual who was obviously in a super big hurry was exiting the Huck's parking lot to enter the southbound lane of US 231 that was currently at a red light stop. There was a woman in a vehicle that was traveling south on US 231 as well, that this individual had pulled out in front of, and she had to abruptly stop so he could then cross the turn lane to haphazardly enter the southbound lane of US 231.
That's a terrible spot to turn left out of.
Amen.
Traffic.
Amen. So he's coming out of Hucks. He's going to go across my lane, across the turn lane, and then enter the southbound lane of US 231 that was stopped.
Yeah, I'm following you.
So there he sits, half in the turn lane, half in my lane. The woman that's traveling south, she comes to abrupt stop. I come to an abrupt stop in the northbound lane, which I have every right to do legally and, physically.
Yeah.
And this feller is not looking at me for nothing. Like I could have been a figment of his imagination. And I may or may not have gained his attention with my forward alerting device that's equipped with the vehicle that I am piloting.
That's the horn for those of you keeping track at home.
And at this point, he realizes what he has done and where he is. He looks at the woman that he pulls out in front of, which she's kind of not, she's not giving him, she's giving him a dirty look.
Yeah.
And I then am looking at this guy like with one of these looks, like a, like folks at home that are listening and not watching. I've got both of my palms turned upwards towards the sky.
Like a what the hell?
Like a what the are you doing type deal, after initiating, the forward alerting device, safety device that's equipped in the vehicle that I'm driving. And at that point, he then turns with the most over-exaggerative, snappy head turn. Wow, looks right at me and gives me the most triumphant middle finger that you've ever seen with the mouth with and then reading lips. He says, "F you,
Olive shoes
or whatever, real big, And then with me piloting a municipal vehicle with three of my comrades. Which we are 100% a reflection of the municipality that we work for, that we are 100% not supposed to retaliate in any situation at all. I just kind of looked at him and gave him the old thumbs up, like, good job, pal.
Yeah.
And then kind of snaked out of my lane into the Hucks. I guess it would be considered the apron of their entrance. And then went on ahead, on our way back to the shop to gain more tools to go on to the next job site. But in that situation, with the current traffic situation, I believe a warranted ass beating or verbal interaction would have 100% been applicable, for what I was dealing with. But yeah, so we get them a lot. We make a lot of friends, and especially me, being
heavy set fellow and
a petite 4 1/4 at a solid 6'4", 6'3.5".
You're shrinking.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. The half inch was just for conversation's sake.
Okay.
I'm a good 6'3" now. Okay. I've shrunk an inch in the last 20 years.
So just to summarize here, to be sure I understand, you're driving the truck, the guy makes a bad judgment, shoots the gap, stops, you honk, he flips you off.
And then mouths.
That's 100% accurate. Yeah, and then he mouths me, "F you."
Okay, we're all caught up. Well,
like I said 2 weeks ago when we got on the hog jacker topic, it is our job as podcasters to paint a very
Detailed.
photo.
I tell you what, if
for those.
anybody ever committed a crime in front of you, this son of a bitch, he'd write the police report.
I have been told before on the record that I'm a very, very good deposer. And matter of fact, an esquire told me that I may or may not be a professional deposition giver.
Well, that's good.
Because I just I remember details, you know.
Yeah,
like
I don't know how you didn't leave any out. I don't think. In that.
Yeah. So this cat really, he was in the wrong at that point. Now,
Can only hope he's a fan of the show. and
judgment call on my end.
You should have just ran the front of your vehicle right into the door side.
I should have just caved his car in half.
Yeah.
But
Those doors,
you
I
know,
don't know what he's driving, but some of the doors crinkle pretty quick.
Yeah. It was not a Honda Odyssey. It was actually like I believe it was like some sort of like 2-door sedan, like a Sunfire, an older Sunfire, maybe Pontiac.
Well, you got to figure this
Can't
guy.
dodge it, ram it.
What time was this?
I don't know. Maybe we were going back.
Oh,
from
you
there.
remember the whole ass?
You painted a hell of a picture, Picasso. You can put that up on a billboard.
Maybe we
It
were
was
going for lunch.
1:37.
Maybe we were going for
So
lunch.
here's the situation.
About 11:58.
This
somewhere
poor
in there-
bastard,
in that area.
he's been hearing it from his old lady, and then his old lady on the side's been on his ass. He went into Huck's to get him a big swig and a pack of smoke so he could get back to work because that's how he decided to spend his lunch break. And he was just in the zone. It's just a classic misunderstanding.
Yeah, and you know,
But
the
that,
thing
that
that-
you answer with a not the
exactly. There has been so many times
He didn't have the right to fly the bird.
bird. Right. That's
Yeah.
what I mean.
He should have been like, hey, my bad.
So
sorry.
your topic says I think it should be socially accepted to just fly the bird as a nonverbal communication of being upset with someone's actions. I completely agree.
Yeah.
But how that other person accepts said bird is really
Well, that's where road
is
rage
really
comes
the
in.
moral of the story.
That's where road rage incidents end up with somebody
I have
shot
been
dead at the
involved.
intersection.
I have been involved with a very, very serious. Well, 2 instances actually where I've been involved with very serious road rage.
One of them was
situation.
started at a Hooters.
Yeah.
Off the road, right?
One of them started at a Hooters, and then that led to some fisticuffs and some defecation and things that we just don't need to delve into. But
P's and P's, Hooters.
yeah, no shit, R.I.P. But the other time was we were actually somewhere in no man's land, Alabama, headed down to the swamp, and there was an individual driving. I believe it was a yellow vehicle, and not to be judgmental, but need I say more? Like a yellow vehicle, like. Whatever, who douchebag, whatever. Anyway,
Dave, edit.
this guy was doing some very, very improper lane switches and some just very
Is it a
erratic.
Mustang.
No, very erratic driving, and I literally was just in the go lane with my cruise control set. Signaling my intentions, doing everything that I should have been doing correctly. And this individual must have been having a very, bad day or something like that. And then he started throwing what I could only assume to be like chew spitters or empty Powerade bottles, or he started throwing his trash out the window at our vehicle. And after like the second,
You ever shot like bottle rockets and Roman candles at cars behind you?
no,
Yeah, me neither.
but after like the second or third garbage strike to our vehicle, going about 65, 70 mile an hour down the interstate, I then
Brandished a firearm.
I did brandish I brandished my firearm just to show him that I was not around anymore.
He was going to find out.
And I did not want him to throw any more garbage at my vehicle. And after that short little display of armament, he then exited the interstate promptly.
Yeah.
And I hated to do that. And still to this day, the warden will remind me of my actions in that particular situation. Was I out of line? Maybe, because I had my entire family in tow.
That's probably
And
what
we
the
were
warden may have.
we were roughly 400 to 500 miles away from our home. But in that particular situation, like, I was prepared to protect my family with the full extent of my well-being with any and all tools that I had of my disposal.
It's hard to throw trash forward when doing 60, but you can
Really just
Can
lob her
twist-
up backwards.
Yeah,
And that's what
send
was
some
happening.
lead up range.
So he could clearly see the firearm.
100%. Yeah. Like he was in the adjacent lane.
Oh.
Yeah. Just a shade behind me. And I may or may not have stuck it through the sunroof. Like, hey, pal,
That might be where the warden
you're
has
going to
a gra-
around
dude.
and find out here, bub. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, if I had been at fault in this particular situation, I would totally accept the middle finger and just get back over in the lane and just keep on keeping on. But in this particular situation, I really don't feel as if I was the aggressor. Like, I feel like I was just a victim of circumstance and this individual's poor day. But I wasn't going to fall victim to his and I just shut it down.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
I just shut it down.
Yeah.
And immediately. So, I can't tell you how many times I've been flipped off, like as a municipal worker. But I feel like it's got a lot to do with predetermined travel plans for folks. I think that has a lot to do with this topic in a lot of different facets. If you know
don't
what I
flip
mean.
anybody off if you ain't got nowhere to be most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
True.
Like if you're just out Sunday cruising, or if you're just gonna run up to the grocery real quick because you need something for the
Well,
next
it's hard
day.
to flip somebody off and hold a beer can and pilot the vehicle.
Exactly. But
That's
if you're
exactly
you're
right.
running late on a Monday morning and you've got a mean case of the Monday scaries and you don't know what's going down when you get there and all that, and some jackwad decides to cut you off or not signal his intentions or do
Stand
something
on tailgating people.
Yeah, do something asinine with that. I believe it could be a socially accepted, way of communication. Like, hey, buddy, you.
There you go.
You know,
I knew a guy that got flipped off once, and then it turned into a road rage thing, and he had his family with him. And back home in Richmond, or right by the courthouse and then the jail, the road dips off real steep and real deep. And buddy, he flipped the guy off, and the guy was getting road ragey and cussing and yelling, and he feared for his family, so he swapped some paint with him and ran him right off the side of that f***ing drop-off. Right by the police station. He said it's probably the best place, you know.
now I have never swapped paint with anyone in this. Now, there has been several times where a particular female that I'm extremely close with has been piloting the vehicle to where I've had to tell her, like, hey, babe, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself, because if there is anyone in this world and or room that we're in right now that struggles with road rage, it's probably that gal, because she is a real peach to drive with when things aren't going her way. Man, oh man! And I believe you might have got a little taste of that with the
Computer.
with the old computer work. Yeah, like if she's got predetermined plans, really mapped out, like she knows how this is going to go, and if anything goes a little bit askew,
Creates problems.
holy moly!
Watch out.
Yeah.